It's finally time for a new journal for the second half of 2025, and this time I've gone with a square journal from Archer and Olive. Welcome back to another video. I'm Tash and I'm delighted to be planning for the rest of 2025 with you. To start with, I just want to apologise. I had so many issues recording the start of this video. My recording software kept crashing, so there are chunks of footage missing from the start of the video, and I'm so sorry about that. Also, I have been sick the last week and a half with a cold, so if my voice sounds a little bit off, I'm sorry about that as well, and hopefully it's not too distracting for you. I chose this particular journal after a square-sized journal won a poll that I put up here on YouTube. I was drawn to this one because it's green, my favourite colour, and because mushrooms, which I'm low-key obsessed with. The golden mushrooms on the inner cover of this journal are to die for, and I love them so much. Given that this journal features mushrooms, I felt it was only fitting to use mushrooms as the theme for the start of my journal setup. Plus, I still have a massive amount of mushroom-themed stationery in my collection that needs to be used. You'll have seen that, as usual, I started the video by showing some of the items that I'm planning on using throughout this video. I'm using a variety of items from Journal Say, there are some Sticky Club stickers in here, and some bits and pieces from places like Spotlight, and some sticker books that I got from a website here in Australia called Paper Cooker. I'll have most of the stuff that I can linked in the description box if you want to check any of it out. We start with the title already done because recording issues, and since I'm not sure just how long this journal will last for, I've put a question mark instead of an ending month. I've done a rough estimate and looked through, and I think this journal will see me through Jan, although I'm not totally sure. I'm honestly hoping not, because I prefer starting a new journal with a new year, but I'm not about wasting paper, so I'll go with whatever works. So December or January, I think, is where I'll get through to. I wanted a light but cottagey vibe for this setup. I utilised a lot of different browns and mushrooms, of course, as well as grass and flowers and plants and cottages and anything that just sort of made me think of country life, with the predominant theme, of course, being mushrooms. I've had these really large mushroom stickers for ages. Really, I should have used them in my B5 journal because of the size of them, but I did find a few places for them here too. I did have to minimise the amount that I used so they weren't like super overwhelming, but I love that they basically scream mushroom at you when you see them. We've skipped forward a little thanks to my recording software being the worst, and something I did a lot of throughout this theme was to cut up different paper frames that I have in my collection. They make gorgeous little decorative pieces and they're almost like a lacy edge. They bring a kind of vintagey, doily kind of vibe, and I love it. It just really brings in that cozy feel. A lot of these items you might actually have seen in my last video, my July woodland creatures theme. I like being able to use the same things in a totally different way. It's wild to me how with just a couple of changes you can give the same item a totally different effect. I got this little old school label maker from Journal Say earlier this year, and I thought using the printed labels in certain spots would give it like a botanical guide kind of feel, like info that's been typed on a typewriter kind of. I adore the little bit of extra that it brought, although the stickers for this are quite thick and bumpy. I'm not sure I'd use this again inside my bullet journal because I have to write so much in it and use it regularly, but maybe it'd be perfect for a reading journal used a little more minimally. I don't regret it either way though. The only downside is that it can be a little time consuming typing out every label you want, especially when you're using as many as I am, but I'm still so happy that I gave it a try and I love the effect. I've done something different with my future log this time too. Usually I have my birthdays on a separate section, a dedicated birthday page, but this time in order to make things more efficient, I thought I'd just add a little birthday section to each month at the bottom of my future log. Well, I started to migrate into this journal the other day, getting everything transferred over and ready to start with August, and I realised that doing it that way was probably a mistake. I didn't account for the fact that my future log does not span a full 12 months, so there isn't actually a place to put all the birthdays in, because for some reason that just didn't occur to me. I don't know why I'm like this. Typically for my future log, I'll set up a lot of months in advance because I have medical appointments that are made sometimes 6 to 12 months into the future. And I also have an 8-year-old daughter who has school and activities that are also planned far in advance. So for my mid-year journal, especially because Christmas is a thing and I often need a lot of extra space around that time of year, I like to have enough space set up to go into March of the next year. This way I can lock down any long-term appointments, and I also have small sections for the next few months through to the middle of the year, and that's for anything that's super far in advance. And I also set myself up a note section, that way if I run out of space or if it's further in advance than I anticipated, I have a place to note down any appointments that way. This time I had to use my notes section to record down all the birthdays from April to August of 2026 because I messed up. Also, I start my future log from the month after my first monthly setup. Since I have, in this case, an August monthly setup straight away, I start my future log from September because I can add anything for August straight into that monthly, but I don't have a place to do that for September until much later. I've also added a little key for pay weeks and regular payments to add to the calendars on these future logs. We get paid fortnightly in my house, so having a little coloured circle to denote paydays and when regular payments come out is super handy, especially when I migrate into a new month and I'm setting everything up. I've skipped ahead here to do my swatches page. It's not a necessary part of a journal setup by any means, but I use a lot of different types of markers and paint pens, so I like to have a spot that I can refer to see how they each look on this particular paper, because that can really sort of change how they look and how they perform. Setting up this page before working on the previous ones means that I can use this swatch chart to decide on marker colours for the rest of the setup as I'm going, without playing marker roulette and hoping that it's fine without the evidence to prove so. I thought I'd done so well this time and was so organised and had laid out everything perfectly, and then I realised that for my Zig Kuretake brushables, I hadn't accounted for there being 2 colours for each marker. Each one has a lighter and a darker tone of the same colour, which meant that I had to encroach on the already lined and ruled spaces to make room for more Zig brushables, which pushed the markers that were supposed to be there up into the Tombow section that I left blank in case I got more over the next few months. So it's no longer neat and tidy, and I am annoyed. Also, I got 2 of my Journal Stay highlighter sets mixed up and wrote the wrong name over the wrong section, so now they don't all sit nicely either, because why would they? I know it's not the end of the world. I've just gone with the flow and I've worked around it, but it's still super frustrating. But listen, there's always next journal setup to get it right. These Primrosea markers are cool because they have a brush tip and a fine liner in a wide variety of colours. The only downside is that they're not waterproof, so it really limits what you can use them for because they'll smudge if you're not careful. Moving on now to the next page in this setup, my About Me page. First of all, I wrote cries next to my age because I have a lot of feelings about turning 40. Then I have all of my usual fare. I like looking back and seeing if there are changes and what they may be over the course of a few journals. Because of ADHD, I tend to hyperfixate on things, and those hyperfixations can be really intense. This is the first time since I started bullet journaling that my main or biggest hyperfixation has actually changed. K-pop has been a big hyperfixation for years now, and while it's still a very large part of my day-to-day, as is music in general, audiobooks have taken over the #1 hyperfixation spot. I've really struggled with reading the last few years because of a lot of reasons. One of them being that I typically read rather large fantasy novels, and because of my rheumatoid arthritis, I actually find it quite painful to hold a physical physical book a lot of the time. Another reason is focus. I've found that focusing on words, because of my ADHD, has gotten more difficult as I've gotten older. Something that I've discovered is that finding a great narrator to listen to while I go about my regular work tasks or my day, it's been a massive game changer for me. I've listened to well over 100 books since the start of the year because, like I said, hyperfixation. I'm now setting up a section to track my socials. This isn't something that a lot of people typically need, but for me, it's easy positive reinforcement that my hard work is paying off and my work is being seen and appreciated. After a lot of therapy, having a place to look back on and see my growth and where I can improve is a great resource and reference point, especially when I'm feeling down about myself or I'm struggling to see the positives. Then on the facing page, I have a small section to note down anything that I need or want to buy. I often forget these things because ADHD, so having one place to keep track of them all is super helpful. Also, if I'm transferring items I want from journal to journal and I still haven't gotten them, I know it's a sign to check how much I really need to spend that money. Under that is a section for tracking recurring payments. I don't know about you, but I subscribe to things and I mean to unsubscribe after a trial or a cheaper period. Also, when I'm accounting for money I want to spend, it can be hard to try and remember when payments are coming out and things like that. So with this table, I can note down the payment type, when it comes out of my account, and a section for if I've cancelled it or not. This is also really helpful to refer to when I'm setting up each new monthly because I have an easy place to go and check to add any payments to my calendar for easy reference. You know, as I'm watching this back, I've realized that I forgot to add a setup for journal themes. This isn't probably something that a lot of people want or need, but if I have an idea for a theme or for a particular spread that I want to add into a monthly or a setup, I like to have a place that I can note that down. I mean, I can do it anywhere really, but I had one of those in my last journal and I used it, so I'm kind of annoyed at myself for forgetting it this time. Now for my goals tracking. I want somewhere that I can have an attainable personal goal and one for my work as well. I have a lot of trauma and it can be really hard for me to recognize positive achievements and acknowledge my strengths. So this is a page suggested by my psychologist for me to take stock of the positives and make sure that I'm being positive about myself rather than just turning to the negative. I do this each month also, but this is a longer term goals thing over the span of 6 months, as opposed to the smaller achievements that I focus on monthly. Decorating the swatches and goals pages now. I made the swatches page into a Dutch door, so I had something that I could use for a grid spacing ruler, which you'll see coming up soon. And then I also go back and add a few more missing pieces to the other spreads, like the cover, which is typical for me because of who I am as a person. I've also left a little space on my swatches table just in case I get a new brand of marker or something. That way I have an easy and already set out place to put it. Now I'm using that Dutch jaw cutoff to create a grid spacing ruler. This is not my own idea. I actually stole it from Erin Smith, who I'm sure you all know, but I'll have her channel linked in the description box anyway, just in case. I use my grid spacing rulers all the time. They are so handy and make working out spacing, square sizes, and dividing the page up so much faster. This being a square journal means that the dot grid is the same amount of dots both vertically and horizontally, so I only need one set of measurements. I also added a thicker cardstock to the back of my ruler. Since I use it so often, I'm trying to make it a little sturdier. I'm now going back to that very first page. It's a single page and I left it blank so that I could have a full spread for my cover page. It also meant that I had the perfect place for my grid spacing ruler. I'm just creating a little pocket out of leftover paper and decorating it all to match the theme. And then when it's all done, I can slip my ruler inside and keep it safe when I'm not using it. Plus, it looks cute. And now we're nearing the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed setting up a new journal with me and that it's given you some ideas for your own journal. If you're still here, leave me a mushroom emoji in the comments so I know that you made it all the way to the end. Also, if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, you can subscribe to my channel. It's free, so you get notified when I post new content. I have weekly shorts, monthly plan with me's, and I also have some reading journal content coming your way at some point soon. If you would like early access to my videos, as well as a few other fun little perks like Discord access so we can chat outside of YouTube, you can become a channel member, which supports me monetarily. I just have the one tier for $5, so if you're interested, you can check that out, but there is zero pressure. Even just liking and commenting on the videos you watch make my day and help me out so much. And with all that said, we are done. While we flip through and have a look at everything that I've done for my mid-year journal setup for 2025, I just wanted to say thank you again for hanging out with me. It means so much to me that you're here and you take time to watch my videos and my content and to comment and like and all of that as well. It's honestly so humbling to have come so far in such a short amount of time, and I really appreciate you. With that, I hope you are having a fantastic time of day and that you are as safe and as happy as you can be, and I will hopefully see you in my next video.